Welcome, everybody, to a brand new week. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We're going to be talking about autonomous vehicles and the morality of autopilot systems and liability and things like that. So, to get going, we're going to first talk about something called the trolley problem. The trolley problem is one of the most famous problems in philosophy. It has spawned countless memes and parodies and things like that. This is the main one. This is the non-humorous meme version of it. The scenario is as follows. There is a trolley that is out of control. The brakes have failed, and it's careening towards 5 people that are working on the tracks. You're standing by. You're next to a lever. They could redirect the trolley onto a track that only has 1 person working on it. So you basically have to choose, do you do nothing? Do you stand by and watch and let 5 people get killed? Or do you pull the lever and maybe have your hand in the murder of 1 person, or depending on if you call it murder or not. So how do you guys vote? Do you stand by and let 5 people die? Or do you intervene and kill 1 person? Or let 1 person die, depending on your perspective. Vote now. Operators are standing by. Let's hear what you guys' opinions are on this. You shouldn't feel too good about it, unless, maybe you got some other issues going on. But, if you just turn and walk away, that's letting the 5 people die. If you're like, oh, I want to fix the brakes on the trolley. Nope, it's not one of the 2 options. This is a forced dilemma. And sacrifice yourself. Not one of the 2 options. So, if you time it right, you can pull the lever at the perfect time and execute a sick drift and get all of them. Yeah, that's one of the memes, right? I think I actually have that one up here. Yeah, here we go. Multi-track drifting, right? So you've got the 1 person, the 5 people, so you hit it just at the right moment, and you do multi-track drifting and plow through both of them. And there's a lot of memes involving the multi-track drifting. Trying to be successful, accepting death is inevitable, not caring about life, multi-track drifting through both of them. There's a lot of memes. I don't know what's happening here with that guy's lever. He's the only guy smiling. I'm not sure. There's 3 trolleys, 5 levers. I don't know. It's a famous. Yeah, here we go. Here's Thomas the Train. You'd save the 5. Okay, most people would. Okay, in all seriousness, most people, would say, okay, I'm gonna flick the switch. And I like how you framed it, right? We've talked about framing before. I would save the lives of 5 people instead of saying I would murder 1 person, because a lot of people feel very uncomfortable about saying I'm gonna murder 1 person to save 5. Instead, most of you guys would say I would save 5. I would save the 5. I would save 5. I'd save the 5 and let 1 die, but I'd feel guilty. Good job, Unique, as the only one who actually said, you're killing 1 person, right? So you can't break the tracks. No, there are no other options other than multi-track drifting, all right? So there's no right or good answer. It's a lose-lose scenario. Exactly, yeah. And that's, what if you don't know which track the thing switches? Like, I don't know. I don't, sorry, man, I'm not a track engineer here. Don't come to me asking for track questions, because I am not a track expert. I do not have my master's degree in trackology. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess that's one response, but that's essentially standing by and letting the 5 people die. Yeah, and so when presented this problem, most people would kill 5 people would kill the 1 person to save the 5. Now, the second scenario is called the Fat Man problem. And so the first one was by... the second one was by Thompson. The first one was by... How am I blanking on the name? Philippa Foot, right, of course. So the second scenario is presented by Thompson, I believe, who also did the violinist problem. It's very famous in ethics. Would you yeet the Fat Man? Okay, so you've got the same scenario. Do you kill 1 person to save 5? And what, most people would say is like, no, I would not push the Fat Man off the tracks, because that's the dilemma you're given here. If you push the Fat Man the fat man has enough mass to stop the trolley and save the lives of 5 people. But a lot of people say, whoa, like I'm willing to kill the person by pulling the lever, but I'm not willing to kill the person by pushing them. There's some difference there. So what about you guys? Would you yeet the fat man? What do you think? What's your and if you're gonna change your view here, why? Why would you pull the lever and kill the person, but not kill the person another way? What's the moral principle that's guiding you here? It just feels wrong. Not really great. Yeah, not really great moral principle. Well, I'll feel guilty about it more. It's like, okay, the question is over saving people's lives, right? I thought, you wanted to kill a person to save 5, but as long as it's not too much work for you, like, really? Okay. Yeah. You'll get a hernia if you push the person off the bridge. Like, what's the principle here? Right? I'll let the 5 people die because I'm a victim of the bystander effect and can't make choices. Push fat man. Yes. We would consider the people inside the trolley and the potential injury to them. No, the people in the trolley don't matter for this problem. It's the way that it's phrased, sure. It's different because you're physically pushing them, sure, but why? Like from a moral perspective, like if your moral framework is utilitarianism, actively killing a person to save 5 is moral, right? Because that's what we were doing in the previous scenario, right? Like we're actively choosing to kill this person to save the lives of 5 people. And this has happened in real life. If you look at the Wikipedia page for it, they actually redirected a train into an area that they knew would derail to save lives, and it almost killed a pregnant woman as a result of it. This is not like a purely hypothetical thing. So you're actively working to kill the one person. You don't want to, I hope. But like, another example from real life would be the was it the V1 or the V2 rockets that the Nazis were shooting at London? Maybe I wouldn't be able to push them in time. No, it's not one of the questions. You have time. You got to think about it. Do you eat the fat man or not, Alexander? Trolley lives matter. Takes more energy. This time you're pushing somebody who isn't in danger. Aha. Yeah, that does seem to make a difference, right? Like in the previous scenario, all of these people are on the tracks already. Like they're already in the danger zone. Danger zone. Here, you've got a person who's just like on a bridge, doing bridge things, and you're putting them into danger, right? So maybe there is a difference there. Very good, Jira. Tomorrow will do whatever it takes to save more people in the long run. So yeah, it's good utilitarian view there, Brock. I'll push the fat man, but you'll feel bad about it. Yeah, you probably should. You have to do what you have to do. Okay. Now I don't want to get in trouble for murder. That's entirely reasonable. Like in this scenario, they probably, would they find you guilty of murder? Probably not. I don't know. Here, yeah, you might go to jail for that one. This reminds you of hedonism. Yeah, exactly. You're trying to minimize suffering and maximize pleasure. And in this case, it's just, does one person suffer or does 5? And so this is literally a utilitarian argument if you're saying you should sack the fat man to save 5, right? What about if it's Harambe? You don't want the murder charge? That's fair. That's a fair cop. What if it was Harambe up on the bridge? Would you sacrifice Harambe and mess with the timeline that we're in to save the lives of 5 humans? You'd push Harambe? I mean, why? What's your reasoning? Why would you push Harambe, Arian? You don't want to go to jail for sacrificing somebody's life? That's fair. That's entirely fair. What if it was an ape? Apes don't have the same kind of rights that that humans do. A lot more people would push Harambe than would push the fat man. Okay. You don't think you have the strength to push an ape? He's already up on the edge. It just takes a little shove. So 5 humans is worth a timeline with Harambe. It's fair. What if Harambe knew that he had to die? Like, what if he knew that like the only way that he could save humanity was to be shot? Have you thought about that one? Hmm. I would choose humans because they're more important than an ape. You're biased to people. That's fair. Most people are, I would say. Alexander seems biased towards Harambe, though. The ape would murder me before I could push him. No, he's not looking. You know, Harambe trusts you, man. He loves you. Are you gonna shove him onto the tracks? You brought him here with the promise of bananas, and now you're gonna eat him. I don't know. I don't know. The ape would murder me. No, he loves you, man. He loves you. I don't like to sacrifice animals, and that ape huge, but I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah, you have enough strength. He's just right on the edge. It just takes a little push, and Harambe goes right off the bridge. It's like the Thanos scene. Yeah, like really. You know, he had to sacrifice that which he loved, and I don't want to spoil the movie, but he loves you now. You feel bad. You should. Yeah, all these scenarios should make you feel bad. none of these are win-win scenarios. These are all lose-lose scenarios. And the ethical dilemma is which one of the lose-lose scenarios do you pick? And the reason why this is so important is because we're in an era now where we have self-driving cars, right? And we are going to have to make decisions over, do we sacrifice an animal to save a human life? A lot of people would say yes. Last time Harambe died, everything went downhill, not taking any chances. That's fair. You know, when did Harambe die? Was it 2016 or 2012? What was that? Death of Harambe. 2016, yeah. So yeah, that was what spawned our timeline, right? The death of Harambe. So they had to decide for the actual Harambe case that they should kill Harambe or hope he doesn't kill the kid. Yeah, there's definitely some actual parallels with the actual Harambe case there. So we are living in an era where this was the car that killed the first person, the first autonomous vehicle that killed somebody right here. You can see the shattered grill from where it, well, I don't want to say murdered, but homicided a person. Okay, we're in an era now where we have self-driving cars, and self-driving cars killed a woman in 2018 and unalive somebody. And the scenario is that there was a woman illegally crossing the street. She was not at a crosswalk. It was nighttime. She was wearing dark clothing, and she was high on methamphetamines and marijuana, and was crossing a dark area in the middle of the night. And a autonomous vehicle run by Uber plowed into her at 40 miles an hour and killed her. And so the trial is starting this summer, 5 years later, which is ridiculous, honestly. Like, you know, whether or not you think the woman's guilty, like, I think everybody can agree that it's jacked up that she's been waiting 5 years for a trial. It's like, you know, like at this, like, you know, like how much more evidence did you gather in the last year? You know what I mean? Like, all the facts were basically known relatively quickly, I think. I don't know. But yeah, she's just now this summer, the driver of the autonomous vehicle is being charged and going to trial this summer. So if you're in a car, would you be responsible? Great question. So when I was flying back into San Diego, one of these times, I was sitting next to a guy who was going to San Diego for a conference on liability of autonomous vehicles. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. What are you guys, how's it going to work? He's like, well, we don't know. Is it product liability or is it auto insurance? You know, these are two different schemas. If it's product liability, then the people who make the autonomous vehicle are liable for the crashes. But if it's auto insurance, then it's the person driving the car that is liable for an accident. And nobody knows. I was like, cool. You know? So yeah, so like the woman is being charged with a crime. Because, I mean, to be fair, like she was the safety officer, right? It was literally her job to keep an eye on the road and make sure that the car didn't run into anybody. The trouble is, like, the cars were so safe that she very quickly, I assume, I'm just hypothesizing now, lost interest in everything because, like, and you see this with like self-driving Teslas, like people will just sit there and be bored out of their minds if they're driving, but they're not actually engaged in driving. And so Tesla has like a face recorder. So like if you like start sleeping while you're like driving down the freeway, it'll like beep at you, or it'll make you put your hands on the wheel or something like that. So you're not just sitting there like staring at your cell phone, which is what this woman probably was doing. The facts were she had the voice open on Hulu, and in the previous 20 minutes of driving, she was probably staring at her cell phone for 6 of those 20 minutes. So in the lead up into the crash, in the 5 seconds prior to the crash, this car is doing 40, 45 miles an hour. She's staring at her phone, probably. She claims that she was staring at the console, looking at the stats of the autonomous vehicle. It was her job to be looking down the window to emergency brake if they're going to run into somebody. They pulled the records from Hulu and found that she was logged in on Hulu watching The Voice at the time. And like they see her smirking and laughing as she's driving down the street. So think about this. You're going 45 miles an hour down Friant. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000.3. That's how long she was staring down at her phone while the car was speeding down the road. That's a hell of a long time to have your eyes off the road. Like, it makes me nervous just counting that and imagining that I'm driving down the road. Like, I don't like having my eyes off the road, like, at all. You know, like if I have to like look down to like turn off the radio, then I immediately like look back, you know. I mostly have all my controls like on the steering wheel, so I can like adjust the volume or, you know, answer the phone or whatever, all without taking my eyes off the road. And so I'm scared to look at your phone for a quarter of a second. I know, right? And she was on it for 5 seconds, you know, going 40, 45 miles an hour down the road. The system had problems. So the system had trouble. There's only a single LiDAR unit on this thing, and the previous thing had 7, so that might have been a contributing factor. But the system itself had trouble IDing her because she wasn't in a crosswalk. She was in profile, you know, woman wearing black with a reflective bike crossing the road. The system couldn't tell what she was. So at 6 seconds out, it's like there's something there, and then it identified her as a vehicle. And if it's a vehicle, then it's going down your lane, you know, and you don't need to swerve to avoid it. And they're like, oh, it's a bicycle, and bicycles, it has program rules for how bicycles work. And only when it was like really close did it was like, oh, we should brake right now. But Uber had the emergency braking turned off. Oops. And so the car plowed through her at 40 miles an hour. So that's the facts. Okay, you've got Uber, who has a system that failed to recognize a pedestrian, and had Uber failed to have the emergency braking system turned on. You have a safety officer in the car whose job it was to brake, not paying attention. Then you have a pedestrian who is wearing black, crossing a street, jaywalking, high on methamphetamine and marijuana, going across a road in the middle of the night in a dark area. The dash cam footage from the thing shows just black, black, black. There's a woman and dead, like that. But the headlights on the Volvo weren't bright enough, and so maybe if the headlights had been brighter, the safety officer would have seen her. There's a lot of different factors in this case. Uber was held to be not criminally liable for the case. However, they did write a check of an unknown amount to her family to clear the civil liability. The driver, however, was charged and is going to trial this summer. So you have like kind of 3 contributing factors into this accident. And if any one of those 3 had not done their thing, the accident wouldn't have occurred. Like the pedestrian, like, you know, I don't cross busy intersections or, you know, busy streets in the dark wearing black clothing, you know, in the middle of the night, slowly, you know what I mean, in front of a car. Like, you know, like I don't, right? But Uber should have had its e-braking system turned on, probably. They had it turned off to avoid, you know, sudden brakes and things like that, which can cause accidents themselves, which is fair enough. But the system gave an order to emergency brake, and the system didn't break because it wasn't turned on. Uber could have had a better detection system. I've heard that if she was in a crosswalk, it would have successfully detected her as a pedestrian, but because she was jaywalking, it had trouble figuring out what she was. The safety officer definitely should have been not watching the voice if that's what she was doing. Even if she was staring at the center console, looking at the stats on the machine, 5 seconds is a hell of a long time to have your eyes off the road. So, how would you guys proportion liability in this case? So you can see as it got closer and closer, like it was trying to figure out like what was going on. The governor of Arizona had invited Uber in to do these autonomous vehicle things, and after the collision, like he kind of kicked him out, and Uber sold off their autonomous vehicle division. Like they got out of the business after this fatal accident here. So, NTSB said she was dressed in dark clothing, did not look in the direction of the vehicle, crossed in an area not lit, entered the roadway from a brick median where they tell you not to use a crosswalk. Vehicle was going 43 miles an hour. It tagged her as a unknown object, then a vehicle, then a bicycle. And then right before hitting her, it flagged the need for an emergency brake, but didn't do so and hit her at 39 miles an hour. So, yeah. So then they exited the business. Like they left the state and they sold off their unit to somebody else as a result of that. So, yeah, it was. I mean, it's a bad situation overall. So, how would you proportion? Like, if you had 100% liability to distribute, how would you guys do it? What percentage is on Uber's shoulders? What percentage is on the driver, the safety officer's shoulders? What percentage is on the pedestrian's shoulders? How would you proportion blame for this accident? 50-50 between Uber and safety. Vehicle wasn't properly equipped and she wasn't paying attention. All right. No fault for the pedestrian jaywalking in the middle of the night. The car itself, it's a tough call, yeah. 75% on the girl, 25% on Uber. Which girl? Because it was a girl that was hit, and it was a girl that was the safety officer. So, which girl are you pinning the blame on, Michael? So 30 on Uber, 60 on the driver, 10 on the pedestrian, 40 on the driver, 40 on the jaywalker, 20 on Uber, safety officer. Okay. Yeah, and at a certain point, like the jury's going to have to make that determination, right? And that's why these like trolley problem, questions are actually really relevant to our life today. If you want to watch a humorous video, The Good Place is actually a great show for like they take fairly weighty philosophical arguments and boil them down into like a sentence or two, and actually do a really good job doing it. So I'm not going to play this so I don't get copyright struck, but if you watch the Trolley Problem from The Good Place on YouTube, it'll sort of give you a very visceral, as you can see from the blood on him, illustration of the trolley problem. Her job was safety, not to be on Hulu. Yeah, okay. Driver and the walker, 50-50. Pedestrian, Uber, pedestrian 10, Uber 60, driver 30, 20 pedestrian, 50 driver, 30 Uber. Okay, so it looks like most of you guys are blaming the driver more than anything else. No fault on the pedestrian. Yeah, I mean in California, like we made jaywalking legal, right? But even still, it's not legal to jaywalk in front of a car, right? Like you can only jaywalk if you have, if it's clear, if it's the streets, if it's safe to do so, right? So, it's trolley problem. The track is heading towards A. If you pull the lever, it'll switch shape. It won't do a totally sick loop-de-loop. Yeah, there's that one, or there's the you push the fat man. So if you remember the names of the original nuclear bombs, right? There's a little boy and fat man. So do you push the fat man to prevent a trolley problem? like quite literally, that was like Truman's like, decision, right? Like, do you nuke Japan and kill people in order to save the millions of people that would die during an invasion of Honshu, right? Like, we are still using Purple Hearts today that were manufactured back in World War II because we made so many of them because that was how many people we thought were going to die invading Japan, right? And we made so many that we haven't had to make any new Purple Hearts since World War II because we're still going through the backlog. And that's counting Vietnam and the Korean War and Gulf Wars 1 and 2 and Iraq and Afghanistan and all this kind of stuff, right? So that would be an example of a trolley problem. You kill a bunch of civilians in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Nagasaki is one of the most Christian cities in Japan, right? But the Japanese government surrendered, and it saved the lives of Japanese and Americans both. Okay. So, you got this one. Let's see. 5 people die no matter what, but if you pull the lever, the trolley does a sick flip. Yeah, there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good trolley problem memes. Yeah. As a pedestrian, you're also in control of your own safety, at least in part. Yeah. No, there's definitely the safety. The safety officer was that, like, pretty sure, she failed her job, right? But at the same time, the pedestrian really should not have been there, So, like, I don't know how I'd rule on that jury. I'd actually really have to go through the evidence and see what there was. Okay. So, yeah, I'll play this for you guys right now. I'm going to pause the video so I don't get copyright struck. And we're recording in. What did you guys think of the trolley problem in The Good Place? Those of you watching at home, basically the Good Place is a show kind of set in the afterlife, and they're trying to teach morals to a person, and so they actually created a simulation where the trolley is actually running over people, fake people, but the pain is real. That'd be horrifying in real life. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Gives you Fate vibes, or like maybe Final Destination. I don't know. It's not easy to make that type of choice. There's so many modifiers and conditions to make the problem both more difficult or funnier, depending on if you want to take it seriously or not. Yeah, true. Okay, so as far as it taking it seriously, so MIT has a website where you can do the trolley experiment yourself, and they record your votes, and then they write papers on it, I guess. They claim that they're not using this to they're claiming they're not using this to make a actual AI driving machine, but it's also true that most people don't believe them when they say they're not using this to create a autonomous, AI for a car. So your homework is going to be to do the moral machine experiment here. It gives you 10 scenarios, and you click, either on the left or the right. Do you want the car? The car is suffering a brake failure. It's out of control. There's no other options. You've got 2 options here. So either kill the passengers or kill the pedestrians, right? The passengers in this case are some old men and women. And in this case, you've got a young family. What do you do? And so I have like a wild conspiracy theory that the results of this experiment will be used to program the ethics in autonomous vehicles. When I visited Stanford a few years back, we visited their autonomous vehicle research lab, and I talked to the head of the lab about the trolley problem. And I was like, how are you going to solve the trolley problem? And the guy said, we are going to not solve the trolley problem. We are going to outsource it to people. So we will find out how people will put people into scenarios, like they actually have a driving simulator. We're going to find out how other people would solve, like humans would solve the trolley problem, and then program our cars to do that. So basically, rather than them trying to figure out, a solution to an unsolvable problem, they sort of like kick the can down the road, and whatever it is that college freshmen choose in the driving simulation, would be used for their cars. But MIT here has surveyed tens, hundreds of thousands of people. Who would you kill? How should you behave when in this scenario? And my conspiracy theory, completely baseless and devoid from any evidence, and in fact contradicted by their own website, is that this will be used to program autonomous vehicles. Because the results, even if MIT is not doing it, the results from this are available. And so if somebody is working for Waymo, like one of my friends is, in somewhere inside of that code is the emergency braking scenario. Somewhere in there, you're gonna have to program in, do you yeet the car into a barricade or do you run over people? Somewhere it's gonna have to make that decision. There's gonna be an if statement in there somewhere. And like I said, it's just a conspiracy theory. It's not, based on any evidence. Is that they would look at the results of this experiment to determine what is the ethical thing to do. Sort of like averaging together the votes of hundreds of thousands of people and saying, okay, the correct thing to do here is whatever. So let's get some votes going. Let's do this. We got like 10 minutes left in class. Let's have you guys and then for real think it was real. That's funny. You're mentally scarring them. Here, fill out the survey on ethics. We're totally not going to use it on robots. Exactly. Like MIT says, we are not using this to program autonomous vehicles. Also, most people think they are, myself included. Or because even if it's not them, somebody might use it. So, how'd you guys vote? Left or right? Would you want the autonomous vehicle to choose to run over the pedestrians in the crosswalk? Or do you have the car steer into a barricade and kill the passengers in the car? Option 2, because the passengers are older and they have lived life, and the pedestrians are kids, or they have a kid. Yeah. Downshift engine, brake the car, and hit the barrier. Hopefully, the crumple zone. Nope, you are killing the people. Sorry, it's a forced dilemma. You got no other options here, Arian. Sorry. I'm saying the people that don't want to drive anymore, and they left up to the autonomous vehicle. It tells you if they're older. Yeah, and there's like fat versus skinny, athletic versus fat, doctor versus criminal, executive versus homeless. Like they actually have a lot of different dimensions of humanity, human versus animal even. And every time you make a dilemma, in this case, the number of people is the same, so you can't do like utilitarian. Well, there's 5 people versus 1. Like in the original trolley problem, here it's old versus young and passenger versus pedestrian. You have to decide. Right side, right side, right side. Okay. Now here's a question. Like, would you buy an autonomous vehicle if you knew that it was programmed to sacrifice you? Like if you're driving down a bridge and the bridge is icy and there's a bunch of people on the bridge and the car decides the way to save the 10 people on the bridge is to steer yourself right off the bridge and into an icy river and kill you. I personally would not buy a car that had that code in it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I want my car to be on my side. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be looking out for me, if I'm going to buy the car. Especially because I know how many bugs there are in software, and I don't want there to be a self-destruct, code in my car where it's like, all right, time to die now, owner. Like, I really don't want that code anywhere in my car in case it gets triggered accidentally. Like, there's a dust storm and it decides, oh, those are people in it. Boop, and it just throws me off into a river and kills me. Like, no thanks. So I'm personally going to disagree with you guys on that one, but I do understand the moral calculus that you're making. Okay, so what do you do here? This is a straight up number of people are the same. Old people. Do you kill the pedestrians or do you kill the passengers? What's your? I've already told you my take on it. Like, I would not buy a car that would yeet me into a barricade. You don't think you'd buy an autonomous vehicle, period? You might have to. I mean, like, honestly, I would not put it past the government to say, well, like, look, autonomous vehicles are safer. And, just like how they mandate seatbelts and headlights and crumple zones and all that kind of stuff, it is entirely possible that they will mandate that all cars become self-driving. Like, they've already mandated, like, EVs are the only cars that can be sold in about 10 years, right? it's entirely possible that once the technology matures, you must not drive your own car, right? And there'd probably be vintage exceptions and things like that, but like maybe in 40 years, like people are going to lose the skill to drive because their cars just drive themselves everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to vote for saving the life of the drivers, just so that my vote will cancel out your vote from the last one. So if MIT decides to make a car based on this, it'll be neutral. Your homework, by the way, is to take the moral machine quiz. And so if my conspiracy theory is correct, your homework, you will be actually voting on how people should die in the future. So how about that for a homework assignment, huh? So don't click randomly on it. Think about your decisions, because they may actually be used to make an AI to solve the trolley problem in the future. So here we got 3 guys that they have the right of way. They've got a green light. They're crossing. You've got 3 dudes that are just normal dudes. And over here, you've got 3 female executives that are jaywalking. So do you run over the executives? Do you run over the dudes? You have a male versus female division. You have a rich versus middle class division. And you have a jaywalking versus non-jaywalking dimension. You also have the swerve versus not swerve. Like, a lot of people will tend to just stay in their lane, because it seems somewhat dubious to have your car go into opposing traffic. All right. So, what do you guys think? You will contribute to possible future deaths? Yep. You thought you were just taking a critical thinking class. But, I'm a male, therefore, if it's men or women, I choose women. So you want to run over the women? When you say I choose women, are you I choose you, Pikachu? Like, we're going to, protect the women in a Pokeball? Or are you choosing to run over the women? Landon, which one? Choose to run over the women. Okay. All right. Any other votes here? You guys vote left. Option 1, option 2. Option 1 is run over the dudes. Option 2 is run over the female executives. It sort of said it's a possibility to harm more people. Yeah. And so a lot of people have like an instinctive aversion to swerving, right? Just because you're going to opposing traffic, and who knows what'll happen, right? Slam into the side barrier is not an option. You are given a forced dilemma. There are 2 options on this. So how do you guys vote? Option 1, option 2. Vote now. Only got a few minutes left. And so what you're going to do for your homework is you are going to take the moral machine quiz, and then you're going to explain your decision-making process. Like, if you had to write the AI for Uber or Waymo or Google or whoever, what rules would you put in? How would you decide who to run over in a trolley problem scenario? Both. Kill women and children. Definitely get them all if I tried. Multi-track drifting. Number 2, I guess. All right. Number 2 it is. All right. Now we got 3 old dudes and a young boy who are in the right of way. And then on the right side, you've got some jaywalking grannies and a young girl. So option 1, option 2. These people have the right of way. These people don't. Stay in your lane. Swerve. Boys versus women. Boys versus girls. Elderly men, elderly women. So there's a gender dimension. There's a legality dimension. The body count's the same. Swerve versus not swerve. Option 2. All right. They are jaywalking, so screw them. That is probably the most common vote that I get from my students, because I've done this with my students every semester. And the most common vote that I get from people is to run over the people that are jaywalking, which is hilarious, because when I present the death of Elaine Herzberg, people are like, oh, you shouldn't kill somebody just because they're jaywalking, and then you do the moral machine, and it's like, well, screw them. They're not following the law, So it's kind of an interesting contrast, depending on how you frame the scenario. So weird to be this stuff off gender. I don't see a correlation. You guys are voting, not me. All right, so This goes against feminist beliefs. If you're a true feminist, you want to kill an equal amount of each gender. There you go. True equality. All right. So on the left-hand side here, option number 1 is killing a homeless, a bank robber, a jogger, and a woman. And then on the right side, we're killing a homeless person and a male athlete. So option 1, option 2. Option 1, you're killing more people. Now you got 4 people versus 2 people. But you are taking out a criminal and you might get the bounty, on their heads, Option 2, all right, killing less people it is. All right, running 5 people into a barrier or swerving and killing a criminal and 2 joggers that are in the crosswalk. What do you guys think? Option 1, option 2. Option 1, you got an executive. You got a male executive, a boy, fat dude, female athlete. Over here you got a criminal and a couple joggers. The criminal is clearly jogging with the joggers to get his steps in for the day. He's stealing to help support his family. Option 2 again. All right. Here we have a completely autonomous vehicle. There's no passengers at all. Do you run over the homeless guy, the old guys and the dog, or the homeless guy, the 2 people, the dog, and a woman? So the right side is the same as the left side, except with an extra old woman in it. They do also have the right of way in case 1. Or do you run over the jaywalkers and minimize deaths? There's a dog in each one. I'm sorry. You're going to get a hot dog or something as a result of either scenario here. So do you kill the jaywalkers? Do you kill the people who have the right of way? Option number 2. Option number 2, hot dog. Here we go. Okay, and the last one we'll do. We've got 2 homeless people in an autonomous vehicle. In the previous class, like one of the scenarios was there's like 5 animals driving down the street. I'm like, who ordered the Uber for them? And like, how did the dogs tell the Uber like where to go? Okay, last one. Here we go. So we got 2 homeless people. We got a male executive and woman. Which one do you guys pick? I was just like, there's got to be a story here. There's like some cats, some dogs. They're traveling together. How did they figure out how to use the app? How do they punch in their destination? How are they paying? Do they have a credit card on them? Okay. Is this designed to make you feel horrible? Yeah, probably. It should. Like, that's a sign that you're a good human if you feel bad about all of these decisions. So option 1, option 2, we'll call it. What do you guys think? Option 1 it is. Okay. So then I'll just click through the rest of these things here and corrupt the results of reality from for the rest of the universe. And then what you'll see at the end here is that like it shows you what your preferences are. Like you choose to save people's lives, protect passengers over pedestrians. Do you care about the law? Do you care about swerving or not swerving? Do you want to kill men or women more, so to speak? Do you prefer humans over pets, et cetera, et cetera? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the test, you're going to screenshot your results, and you're going to explain why. Like under your ethical system, why do human lives matter more than pets? Why does saving lives matter? Okay, and you can use any ethical system you want. A sentient being is barreling towards 5 people. Do you take over responsibility and pull the lever? Okay, you guys all understand? You gotta maybe change the future. That's it for today. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace out.